Hello, my name's Bobby, and in this video I'm going to be covering two features in ScriptRunner Connect, the Managed Connections and the Managed API features. Managed Connections and Managed APIs are both features that are core to ScriptRunner Connect in making a simple and straightforward product for you to use. First, I'm going to cover the Managed Connection feature. So, as you can see here, I'm logged into ScriptRunner Connect, and if I go to the connector screen, you can see I've got a large list of tools that I have got pre-made connections to. ScriptRunner Connect gives you the ability to create these connections to tools, and then we handle everything for you. So you can go to create new, for example, and let's, for example, try to connect to Jira Cloud. When I select connecting to Jira Cloud, and I'm just going to call this demo and select authorize, ScriptRunner Connect then takes you through a unique connection process based upon the tool you've selected. So for the Jira Cloud side of things, I get taken to this Atlassian API site where I choose the URL I want to connect to, click accept. I then get taken back to ScriptRunner Connect where I reconfirm the URL of the site I've selected and click confirm. And then save, and then that connection is now created for you and handled for you. I don't need to worry about token refresh, authentication during API calls. This is all now handled for you. As a demonstration, you can see if I was to select, for example, ServiceNow, give this a name, and click authorize, I get taken through a unique process for ServiceNow to connect to the application. So you don't need to worry about what specific steps you need to take when connecting to an application. ScriptRunner Connect will walk you through that process. Once I've got my managed connection, I then want to make use of it and the managed API to write code to communicate with that tool's API. So to do so, I'd go to a workspace. I'm going to create a new workspace called Managed API. And let's create a script. So I'm just going to call this one the test script. Now, to communicate with a tool that I've connected to, I need to add it under my API connections. So under API connections, I can click plus, choose the tool that I'm going to be communicating with. So for example, Jira Cloud, and then choose the connection that I want to use. So I'm going to use the demo connection I've just created. When you click save, you can then import that API connection into your script, either copying the import statement here, or at the top, selecting an import connection and selecting import. This brings that connection into the Jira Cloud variable. From here, I can access the managed API. So for anyone who's familiar with writing code for APIs, you'll know that usually you have to go to the documentation of that particular API. If you can find it, find the particular endpoint you need, read and understand documentation. It isn't always 100% clear with all kinds of options available, and then write code essentially from scratch to communicate with that API, defining the token, authentication, header, etc. With the managed API, you don't need to worry about any of that outside of the editor itself. So for example, if I was to get a Jira issue, I can say Jira Cloud dot, and the API is broken down into manageable chunks that you can see here. So for example, issue dot get issue. When I open up the brackets for this API call, I get a link to the official documentation if I want to use it. But again, I don't need to. You can see that I've already got an error message showing up. We know from our managed API, when the managed API is developed, we know what the API is expecting from you. So we can give you an error to say, hey, you're missing something from this API call. So for example, we're missing the issue ID or key. I also have the option to use keyboard shortcuts, so Control and Space here, to give me suggestions on what's available for this particular API call based upon where my cursor is at. For more information about keyboard shortcuts, the editor itself, and any tips and tricks that you can use whilst writing your scripts, please watch this video here we've recorded, give you more information about those. So for this API call, I can do Control and Space, I can do issue ID or key, and then let's just put key in here. There is no error, so this is now a valid API call. I can also capture the response here in the response variable. And again, because it's a call that we know, we can give you a structure. We know what Jira is going to send back to us when you say you want to get an issue. So we can give it the correct data type so that when I want to then use the data sent back to me, the Jira issue, response dot, and you can see here I can access the fields and the summary. Straightforward. As mentioned, the managed API covers a number of tools. So for example, if I wanted to do the same for ServiceNow, for example, I can go and select a ServiceNow connection that I have predefined, go to my script, import that into the ServiceNow variable. And then under here, I can access the ServiceNow variable, and then I can access the API endpoints that are available in ServiceNow. Thank you very much for your time. Hopefully this has been useful to help you see the value add that you get from ScriptRunner Connect with our managed connections and managed API feature. Thank you very much and have a great rest of the day.